Ground types. You know them, you love them. Or at least I do. Since the ground type is my favorite type after all, why shouldn't I get some good artists to create fake Pokemon for the ground type? Nah, but nobody would click on that video. Oh wait, you clicked? Oh, okay, I'll do it. Hey guys, Reels back with another video, and today we have the third installment of a series that I'm a big fan of, and I think this one is the best of its kind. Today, I have gotten two more amazing artists on this channel to make Fakemon based on the same prompt. Let me introduce the two artists in question. First up, we have a longtime friend of mine, yet I have only had one collaboration in the past with them, that being my good friend Lewiside. Second up, we have a more recent friend, but just as good art skills and vibes, that being the wonderful artist Strudel Doodles. Both of their channels will be linked in the description. Our prompt was a very simple one, that being ground type. That means the only real limitation is that we had to have the ground type in its typing. Anyways, enough rambling from me, let's get into the video. Take it away, Lewiside.
Howdy folks, it's me, Seidel. I'm a guy. Let's draw a ground type Fakemon, shall we? I want to start by thanking Jotun Reels and the Academy for including me in such a prestigious project. This is effectively my first ever time making a Fakemon specifically for a collaboration project, so I wanted to make a really unique, special design to really commemorate such an occasion. When Jotun Reels gave the prompt that it had to be a ground type Fakemon, I ran outside and started licking every patch of dirt I could find. I actually learnt a lot of fun facts. I didn't know dirt was brown. Now, designing wise, I think ground type is kind of awkward to design for. I sometimes struggle getting my head around what specifically makes a ground type Pokemon a ground type Pokemon. You look at Pokemon like Baltoy, Gligar, Cubone, even Sandshrew, and if you imagine them in a parallel world where ground type didn't exist, I feel like all of them could still exist in Pokemon and not have their designs changed at all, really. And the same works vice versa. If you imagine a lot of normal type Pokemon or rock type Pokemon and imagine a world where neither of their types existed, well, ground type would probably fit most of them as well. It's quite weird, at least to me. My point being, I struggled on this design a little bit. I kept wondering if I was making it too complicated, too simple. Am I making it really a ground type, or am I making a not ground type? I suppose what I'm trying to say is the design I went for was what I wanted to be the most grounded ground type, right? I wanted to base off a realistic animal what was known for digging underground. I feel like not a lot of Pokemon, if any, are actually based on real animals, so I wanted to make something that was not only grounded in the real world, but grounded in the Pokemon world, you know? I admit I got a little bit too excited when I started designing it. I definitely added perhaps too many features, so I tried to kind of simple it out, smoothen it, if you will. Do you think I added too many details, or should I have kept removing more, or should I remove less? I'll let you decide. Either way, this is my first ground type submission, my first ever collaboration Fakemon, Diglett. Its name being a mix of dig and let. Let being another word for basically renting out a house, so if you own a house, you can let it out to other people. I just thought that was a really fun word. And, you know, it's a ground type. What are bricks made out of? Probably ground. You know, it made sense to me at least. I'm quite happy with it. I hope Jotun is, and I hope you are as well. But before we finish, let's evolve it. Now, I'm sure you can tell looking at Diglett, I kind of used all of my creative juices, so I kind of struggled making an evolution for it. How can you go beyond what I would argue is relative perfection? I did what any sane person would do, and I just made more of it. I think it's important as a Fakemon artist, you know, if anybody else makes Fakemon out there, I think this is an important lesson. If you've made a good design, don't be afraid to do it again. I mean, heck, official Pokemon games do that. Look at Nidoking, Kangaskhan, and Rhydon. You know, remove the colours and squint slightly, you can't tell them apart. We literally have the term Pikachu clone, and we expect a different one each game. Heck, literally, name one mainline Pokemon game where you don't throw Pokeballs to catch them. You know, if you got a good idea, keep using it, honestly. So that's basically what I did. I took Diglett's design and I just ran with it. I did the, you know, the usual evolution shtick. I made it a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit more domineering. Is that the term? Either way though, folks, I've rambled on way too long. Here is the evolution Doug. I feel like not a lot of Pokemon just have, like, you know, normal names, like, you know, like Dale. So, here's Doug. I guess it's a little bit too short. I guess there's 3. Doug Third. Doug Trio. Doug Trio is actually not a bad idea. Doug Trio. There we go. Once again, I want to thank Jotun for allowing me to show up on this video. It's a genuine honour. I hope you like these designs, Jotun, and I hope you, the viewers, also like these designs. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm really proud of these. I would argue that they wouldn't look that out of place in an official Pokemon game, but, you know, maybe that's a little bit too narcissistic. But either way.
For my design, I had a relatively simple concept. A mole. Well, not just a mole, that would be too boring. A mole combined with a worm. Both are creatures that dig in the ground, and since we don't really have a definitive worm Pokemon, why don't I lean into that one more? Unfortunately, the day before I had planned to work on this, my computer decided to have an aneurysm and went out of business. So all of the art you will see here will be done on my phone, in case the brushes or art style look different than usual. While the main idea is some sort of a mole-worm hybrid, I wanted to take some mythological inspiration, since my new up-and-coming comic on Tumblr has a mythology vibe. So I mainly pulled from the Hydra, both the multi-headed beast and the bacteria of the same name, since they are kinda worm-like. I also threw in Cerberus as another multi-headed creature. Since dogs are mammals like moles, I thought it made sense as a connection. As you can tell, I didn't really have much of an idea going on besides the concept, so I finagled a design until I settled on what I wanted. I knew what I wanted was a Gen 1 vibed, Kanto-inspired Pokemon, but I struggled on executing it for a bit. However, just drawing the full body would be a boring pose. So I decided to have the head and neck cuff for the first stage, and the neck mane in the second stage poking out of the ground. For the evolution, you can see what the rough proportions would be. I made the main body brownish-orange with a red nose, and made the cuff and mane grayish-browns. I made the shinies more yellowy, plus I did a classic Pokemon move of swapping the red with blue. Here is Diglett, the mole Pokemon, from Dig, what it's doing in the art, and a corruption of Little, a ground type. This worm-like Pokemon loves crawling around and eating weeds from the roots first. They then slurp the weeds like spaghetti into the ground, consuming them fully. Let's evolve it, shall we? Here is Doug Trio, the mole Pokemon, from Doug, the past tense of Dig, and Trio, since there are 3 independent heads, a ground type. This 3-headed beast is said to dig around vast stretches of earth, tearing through rough and coarse dirt like it is sand. It is said they are helpful in digging out large areas, especially if they previously buried a treasure belonging to them. All in all, I'm very happy with this design, and I would use it as a ground type enthusiast.
Hey guys, I'm Shroodledoodles, and when Jodem Reels reached out for Fakemon YouTubers for a special collab, of course I jumped at the opportunity. The prompt was ground-type Fakemon, so let's see what I came up with. With this concept, you can see I decided to go with a very simple shape. We had talked a bit about our concepts, and I thought this would be a good way to help my design stand out. But since it's ground type, I wanted to make sure I also included some rocks and gravel in the design, and so I decided this guy is popping out of the ground. And you've probably guessed the inspiration by now, but it's a mole. I just felt like a mole would fit perfectly with other ground type Pokemon. After I had the line work done, I moved on to coloring and shading. There's not much to say besides that I went with a pretty typical ground type color palette. And we all know how I love the occasional subtle shiny, so of course with such a simple design, I had to go with a subtle shiny. And here's the finished product. I love how this little cutie turned out, and would be perfect for an early Gen Mon. For the name, I was thinking something like Diglett, but of course the prompt was to do at least a 2-stage evolution, so I'm doing exactly that. Let's get started on the evolution. For the evolution, I wanted to stick with the simple theme. So what's better than one little mole popping out of the ground? The answer is 3, of course. So pretty much that's what I'm doing here, drawing out where the 3 heads will be, and then of course adding in some gravel and rocks to keep with the previous Evo's design. I had considered doing different faces, but honestly I wanted it to be super simple, so I went with pretty much the same face for all 3. And no, it's not lazy, it's cohesive. The color palette for this design was obviously going to be the same, so no surprises there, and that goes for the shiny as well. Shiny hunters weep at the shinies I create. And here's a last look at the final design. All in all, I'm pretty satisfied with it, and I hope it's everything Jodam Reels wanted and more. For the evolution, I decided to name Doug Trio. This collab was so much fun, and I'm sure I'll do more in the future. Thanks again for inviting me. Until next time.
And there you have it. 3 artists make Fakemon from the same prompt. What did you guys think of the designs? Whose designs were your favorite? Tell me in the comments. Thanks again to Lewiside and Strudel for coming on to the series, making this the best video of its kind. All of their channels will be linked below in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the future. And happy April Fools.